Today we're diving into the wild tale of Stanford Pines. Born with 6 fingers and a brain too big for school, or reality apparently, he built a portal to explore the multiverse, but ended up losing his brother instead. Trapped in other dimensions, battling nightmares, and eventually returning to punch a demon triangle in its smug face. This is the legend of Ford Pines, the flannel-wearing genius who broke science, and a few laws of nature along the way. So grab your magnet gun, adjust your reality anchors, and get ready, because we're about to dive headfirst into the life of Stanford Pines. Now, Stanford was always the smart one, but one science fair, one mistake, and everything changed. Confused? You'll understand it all in a while. Let's rewind to where it all began. A beach, a brainy kid, and 6 fingers. Stanford Pines was born in the late 1940s or early 1950s in Glass Shard Beach, New Jersey, to Philbrick Pines and Karen Pines. His parents had a pawn shop named Pines Pawn. He was the older of the Pines twins, arriving 15 minutes before his brother Stanley. And believe me, he didn't let Stan forget that. From a young age, Ford showed a strong interest in science fiction and the supernatural. And like Stanley said,
as if his abnormally high IQ wasn't enough, he also had a rare birth defect. 6 fingers on each hand, which might have explained his obsession with sci-fi mystery weirdness.
Even though the twins had very different personalities, Ford being quiet and studious and Stan being more loud and impulsive, they were extremely close as kids. They spent a lot of time together exploring their hometown and dreaming of adventures. The twins worked on their pet project Stan-O-War together, but the adventure soon took a rather mysterious turn. Unfortunately, their childhood wasn't easy. Ford was often teased because of his extra fingers, and Stan was picked on for being smaller and less aggressive. One of their main bullies was a kid named Krampelter, who made things worse, like telling the twins this.
You're a 6-fingered freak, and you're just a dumber, sweatier version of him. And you're lucky you have each other because neither of you will ever make any friends.
Their father, Philbrick Pines, didn't have much patience for weakness and enrolled both boys in boxing lessons to toughen them up. As the time passed and Pines reached adolescence,
Ford's brain seemed to get more impressive every year.
On the other hand, Stan lived up to his personality, a free spirit. Then comes the troubling part. Ford's genius got the attention of the teachers. He got called up to the principal's office.
Your son Stanford is a genius. All his teachers are going bananas over his science fair experiment. You ever heard of West Coast Tech? Best college in the country. Their graduates turn science fiction into science fact. The admissions team is visiting tomorrow to check out Stanford's experiment. Your son may be a future millionaire, Mr. Pines.
This news, on the one hand, impressed his greedy dad, while on the other hand was bad news for Stan. As he started worrying, the adventures he had planned with his brother were coming to an end. That night, Stan was walking in the lab eating his toffee peanut, saying,
And now, thanks to that dumb college, I was gonna lose my brother forever. This is all your fault, you dumb machine!
And accidentally, he crashed his brother's project, the perpetual motion machine. He tried his best to repair it. Considering his brain, it was far from being repaired. The next day, when the West Coast Tech selection team came, they found the perpetual motion machine stopped.
Kid, a perpetual motion machine has one job, to not stop. I don't think you're West Coast Tech material.
Ford got rejected. He found that the toffee peanut wrapper was around the machine and quickly got the hint that it was his twin brother's doing. Ford, in his fury, confronted Stan, accusing him for ruining his future and the potential millions he could have made the family. And what made it worse was their dad eavesdropping on the conversation. And believe me, he was way more angry than Ford. He kicked out Stan from the house, only to return when he made enough money to cover the loss of family. Ford was sad, but he didn't stop his dad and looked the other way. Moving on, as time passed, Stanford earned a scholarship to Backups University. I guess that was his only backup. A less prestigious college where Ford must have been the only greatest genius. During his time at the university, Ford makes his first true friend who isn't his brother, Fiddleford McGucket, a young but brilliant mechanic with a sharp scientific mind. Wait a minute, I know what you're thinking, and you're right, he is that old, long-bearded man. But what in the world happened to this young tech genius that he turned out to be like this? Well, you'll understand what happened to Fiddleford soon as well. But putting that aside, even though Ford's school didn't fully match his intelligence, that didn't hold him back. He kept pushing forward in science, eventually getting accepted into a doctoral program 3 years earlier than usual. His research caught national attention. Not only did he earn recognition for his work, but he also won a big cash prize for one of his discoveries. I wonder how he ended up in Gravity Falls. So let's find out.
My whole life I'd been teased for my 6 fingers, but that got me thinking about anomalies. Things that were odd, unusual, statistically improbable. And according to my investigations, there was one place with a higher concentration of these things than anywhere else. A small lumber town in Roadkill County, Oregon. Gravity Falls.
And there he goes on his own to Gravity Falls. Well, now it's safe to say his 6 fingers led him to that little weird town.
I set to work using my grant money to investigate the strange properties of this town. But what would I find here? Bingo! I began to investigate at once.
He built a research lab in town, and that's where he started journaling his findings in a book with a 6-fingered hand emblem on it. He even built an entire bunker under his lab where he would house the dangerous inventions and discoveries of his. There were anomalies everywhere, and he studied them all.
There were anomalies everywhere, and the more I looked, the more I saw.
It was finally a place he could call his home. By 1981, Ford had already filled 2 journals and was deep into writing the third. He had collected an impressive amount of information about the strange happenings in Gravity Falls. But there was one question he couldn't get past. Why was this town so bizarre? But the one problem with geniuses is that they never stop asking questions. Now, some may say that that isn't a problem at all, but it seems like it raises troubles for them. That single word why drove him further, from research into obsession. Searching for answers, Ford explored deep into the caves around Gravity Falls, where he found ancient paintings left behind by native people. These showed a powerful being named Bill Cipher, along with a strange symbol known as the Cipher Wheel, which was said to be the key to stopping him if he ever posed a threat. Ford ignored the warnings, thinking it was just old folklore, but after reading an ancient incantation out loud, he accidentally invited Bill Cipher into his mind, a decision that would change everything. The day he read those incantations, Bill appeared in his mind in a dream for the first time.
He told me he was a muse, that he chose one brilliant mind a century to inspire. What a fool I was, blinded by his flattery and games. He became my research assistant. He was free to move in and out of my mind as he pleased. We were partners.
Bill helped him discover more mysteries and told him the answer to the question. He told him the reason behind all the weirdness in Gravity Falls is due to a dimensional rift, where another dimension's weirdness leaks through. Ford made a deal with Bill to get more answers. The condition was, Bill could move freely in his mind. Ford trusted him, but he was betrayed.
When he told me that I could complete my research by building a gateway to other worlds, I trusted him. He said this was the way genius happened. A little help from a friend. It seemed that I was on the verge of my greatest achievement. Until my partner got a glimpse of Bill's true plans.
When they first tested the portal, they used the dummy, but accidentally Fiddleford got sucked in the portal and saw everything that was going to happen and what was Bill's plan. He told Ford everything.
When gravity falls and Earth becomes sky, fear the beast with just one eye.
And then told Ford to destroy the machine and quit as well. But the nightmares didn't leave his side, and he had to turn out like this.
My name is Fiddleford Hadron McGucket, and I wish to unsee what I have seen.
He made a gun that could erase memories because he could not live with what he saw in that realm.
I believe I have invented a machine that can permanently erase these memories from my mind. Test subject 1, Fiddleford.
However, he overused it on himself, and the result was the old rotten-minded man we saw the whole season. Well, now you know what happened to poor old man McGucket. He saw one glimpse of Bill's true evil and fried his genius out. Anyway, Ford confronted Bill about his betrayal, and as a result, this entire drama unfolded.
Bill, you lied to me. Where does that portal really lead?
Oh, looks like Mr. Brainiac finally got smart. Let's just say that when that portal finishes charging up, your dimension is gonna learn how to party. Right, guys?
No, I'll stop you. I'll shut it down!
A deal's a deal, Sixer. You can't stop the bridge between our worlds from coming, but it would be fun to watch you try. Cute even!
I'd been betrayed. I shut the portal down, severing the link between Bill's world and ours.
After shutting the portal and cutting off Bill Cipher's access to our world, Ford thought the danger was over. But shutting the portal wasn't enough. He knew Bill could still find a way back. And Ford, being Ford, wasn't about to take any chances. So he did what any paranoid genius would do. He tried to destroy the portal for good. He took measures to prevent Bill from ever taking control of his mind, and even went as far as installing a metal plate in his head. Extreme, right? But when it comes to intergalactic villains, you have to do the extreme. However, he continued to do his research with care, like using invisible ink for the journals. And when his paranoia reached its peak, he decided to abandon his work and lock away the journals. And then the Mystery Shack came into being. Using his last bit of sanity, Ford decided to renovate his lab into a shack as the last resort of humanity to fight against Bill's evil plans. And to make up with his brother, he sent a postcard to Stan. And Stan answered, not because he wanted to make up, but because he had no other choice. Stan was under a huge pile of debt. Just check this out.
Just give me a few more days, Rico. I'll pay your goons back, I swear.
After 10 years of running schemes, selling snake oil, and disappointing everyone around him, including himself, Stan had no choice but to accept Ford's invitation and visit him. And instead of making up, the twins brought up things from 10 years ago, like how Stan spent time in 3 different prisons, and how Ford had to give up on his dream college due to Stan. Well, needless to say, everything heated up pretty quickly, and they began to throw hands. And just when I thought that it couldn't get any worse, this happened.
You left me behind, you jerk! It was supposed to be us forever! You ruined my life!
You ruined your own life!
Well, things escalated quickly. One thing led to another and they pushed each other, causing the portal to accidentally power up. And as if the situation wasn't bad enough already, Ford got sucked into the portal. In a blinding flash of blue and static, Stanford Pines, genius, researcher, paranoid recluse, vanished. And just like that, he was gone. Not just missing, not just hiding, gone. While Gravity Falls thought the author of the journals had simply disappeared, the truth was so much worse. Ford wasn't just lost, he was trapped. 30 years of this. No sleep, no peace, no brother, only war, research, and the occasional alien bounty hunter trying to eat him. And here's the tragic part. He never stopped trying to get home. He modified technology from other worlds, sent messages encoded in journals, and even managed to tamper with Earth's electromagnetic field, hoping someone would find the signal. That someone? Stanley Pines. The same brother who accidentally banished him would become the only person capable of bringing him back. Yep, you heard that right. The only person who finally managed to bring back the author of the journals was Stanley Pines. Let that sink in. The guy who once sold fake time-traveling carpets and couldn't hold down a job longer than a week. That guy brought back a man who had spent 30 years hopping between nightmare dimensions. But let's rewind a bit. Stan had been trying to bring Ford back for years. He knew the only way to do it was by restarting the portal. But for that, he needed all 3 journals. And he only had one. But then came his nephew, Dipper Pines, amateur paranormal investigator and chaos magnet. And thanks to Dipper, Stan finally got his hands on all 3 journals.
Just 18 more hours. Finally, everything changes. Today.
Now, bringing someone back from a twisted interdimensional void isn't exactly a walk in the park. Stan had to steal high-grade materials, outsmart government agents, survive laser security systems, and, oh yeah, lie to his niece and nephew for the entire summer. But in the end, he did it. After 30 years of silence, 30 years of danger and dimensional madness, Stanford Pines finally came home. And this is the moment Gravity Falls changed forever. Okay, deep breath. This is the first time the real author, the mysterious figure behind the journals, cryptic codes, and mind-bending experiments, actually steps onto the screen. Now, all we had were breadcrumbs, the mysterious laptop with the letter F, McGucket's babbling, and him being the assistant to the author. But now we get the truth.
What? Who is that? The author of the journals. My brother.
Now, you would think that Ford would be happy, right? Stan saves his brother, Ford comes home, they hug it out. Cue the end credits and everyone gets waffles. Yeah, nope. Ford steps out of the portal, 30 years older, traumatized and full of rage. And the first thing he does? He decks Stan. Not a thank you, not a "you saved me." Nope, just a good old punch in the face.
Finally, after all these long years of waiting, you're actually here! Brother!
And the reason? Well, this is why.
This was an insanely risky move, restarting the portal. Didn't you read my warnings?
Yeah, turns out activating a dangerously unstable machine that could rip a hole through space-time wasn't exactly Ford's idea of a thoughtful welcome home gesture. And honestly, he has a point. But come on, Ford, a hug wouldn't have killed you. The guy spent a decade building this place back up and risked everything to bring you home. What do you guys think? Was Ford justified in being furious? Or should he have cut Stan some slack and, maybe not gone full WWE in his first 30 seconds back? Let us know in the comments. Well, putting everything else aside, one thing is clear. Opening the portal was a dangerous move. As a result, Stanford decides to isolate himself in the basement for the remainder of the summer to assess and contain any lingering damage. He resumes his experiments in solitude, until Dipper, ever curious and eager, asks if he can join in. He straight up turns him down with this.
No. I'm sorry, Dipper. On the dark, weird road I travel, I'm afraid you cannot follow.
Just when Dipper thinks there's no way to be a part of Ford's world, an unexpected connection brings them together. Dungeons, dungeons, and more dungeons. Their mutual love for the game creates an unlikely bond.
With pen and paper, shield and sword, our quest shall be our sweet reward.
And so they pause all scientific activities and start playing the game. Everything seems great, until an argument between the Pine brothers escalates into chaos.
Now to the forest for the ultimate game!
Yep, Stanford and Dipper just got abducted by some witch and her minions. And to rescue them, Stan and Mabel are forced to enter the game world, where Dipper and Ford are now characters.
Let the game begin!
Well, let's just say that after a very bizarre and intense match, they managed to win and save their twins.
The game is like over. Excelsior whatever.
After this surprising victory, things go back to normal for a while. The group returns to their routines, playing games, watching Duck Detective, and enjoying the calm. But danger still lingers. Ford makes a chilling revelation.
I dismantled the portal. An interdimensional gateway is too dangerous for the world it feeds into. That's why I was mad at Stan for using it. He saved me, but as I feared, the instability of the machine created this. An interdimensional rift.
And let's just say that this is, well, dangerous. So Ford asks Dipper to keep it a secret from everyone. I'm not sure if Dipper can do that though. Anyways, in a later episode, The Last MabelCon, Ford's dreams take a dark turn when Bill Cipher returns, this time with threats. Bill even mentions that he knows that Ford has captured the interdimensional rift leakages and tells him that he cannot keep it safe forever.
You can't keep that rift safe forever. You'll slip up, and when you do...
The dream confirms Ford's worst fears. Bill is coming. He knows about the rift. Ford realizes he can't stay silent any longer, so decides to tell the others everything.
I have to warn them. He's coming.
Good decision, Ford. So he gathers the kids and asks if they know anything about Bill. Their reaction says it all.
Now tell me, children, do either of you recognize this symbol?
Bill.
You know him?
Know him? He's been terrorizing us all summer.
At least they all know how dangerous and evil Bill Cipher is. So what should they do? Well, unfortunately, there are ways to prevent Bill from interfering with Mystery Shack using his mental tricks. According to Ford, there are ways to Bill-proof the shack.
A way to Bill-proof the shack. All I have to do is place moonstones here, here, and here, sprinkle some mercury. Let's see.
Well, long story short, the last ingredient is tricky. Unicorn hair. So Ford sends Mabel on a magical quest to retrieve this last material. And as plan B, he prepares a method to protect their minds instead.
Dipper, come along. If If we can't Bill-proof the shack, we're going to have to do the next best thing. We're going to have to Bill-proof our mind.
While they set up the machine, Ford gives Dipper more insight into Bill.
So what is Bill exactly?
No one knows for sure. Accounts differ of his true motivations and origins. I know he's older than our galaxy and far more twisted.
Well, that much is correct, but Ford isn't any less insane as compared to Bill. Just take a look at this.
I personally had a metal plate installed in my head.
I mean, what kind of sane person installs a metal plate in his head? Yeah, sure, it was to prevent Bill from taking control, but still. Anyway, then Dipper's curiosity made him take a peek into Ford's mind. And inside his memories, Dipper sees this.
Please, call me a friend.
Well, that must have come as a surprise to Dipper. The two have a small argument, and to my surprise, Ford forgives Dipper pretty easily.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay, Dipper.
Following this, Ford opens up fully, finally telling Dipper the truth about his past with Bill. Like how he was a fool and got taken over by Bill's flattery. Well, it soon ended when McGucket got a glimpse of Bill's plans. However, when Ford confronted Bill, it was too late, and he did the only thing he could do now, shut everything down. And guess what reaction Dipper gave to this entire situation?
Oh man.
Oh man, indeed.
Honestly, that's the exact reaction I would give. Only now does Dipper fully understand the gravity of this situation. Well, fortunately, Mabel succeeded in bringing back unicorn hair, and using that, they Bill-proofed the Mystery Shack. All's good for now, so let's skip to another episode that comes later in the series. In Dipper and Mabel vs. the Future, Stanford Pines begins to lay the foundation for what he sees as the continuation of his legacy.
Remember the rift in dimensional space-time I showed you? It's cracking.
Ford is gripped with anxiety over the potential apocalypse he dubs Weirdmageddon.
If it breaks, it would cause reality as we know it to completely unravel. A hypothetical and catastrophic event I call Weirdmageddon.
He entrusts Dipper with the gravity of the situation and takes him to a crashed UFO hidden in the forest, in search of a powerful extraterrestrial adhesive to patch the rift's container. This moment isn't just about saving the world. It's Ford sizing up Dipper as his intellectual heir.
What would you say to staying in Gravity Falls after the summer ends and becoming my apprentice?
As they navigate the alien wreckage, Ford tries to inspire the boy by downplaying Dipper's academic worries, bragging about his own 12 PhDs, and asserting that Dipper has the potential to become someone truly extraordinary if he follows in his footsteps. Ford's enthusiasm is genuine, but it's also tinted with a tragic blind spot. He's so focused on mentorship and legacy that he fails to see the emotional cost his expectations place on Dipper. When the two are attacked by alien defense droids, Ford is nearly captured, and it's Dipper who saves him, reaffirming Ford's belief in his grandnephew's promise. Dipper, flattered and emboldened, agrees to become Ford's apprentice. But this triumph is short-lived. Ford doesn't realize that by encouraging Dipper to choose a future apart from Mabel, he inadvertently drives a wedge between the twins, one that sets the endgame in motion. His failure to consider the emotional nuances of his family leads to Mabel wandering alone, vulnerable and heartbroken. Bill took advantage of this situation and disguised himself as the time travel guy to trick Mabel into giving him the rift.
Just hand it over and I'll do my thing. Unless you're ready to leave Gravity Falls.
Just a little more summer.
So Ford, pressuring Dipper to become his apprentice, ultimately leads to the realization of his nightmare, Weirdmageddon.
What is that?
We're too late. It's the end of the world.
And just like that, we see the beginning of the end, Weirdmageddon. The apocalyptic worst-case scenario Ford always feared for decades bursts into reality, literally, when Bill Cipher escapes into the third dimension by shattering the rift. The moment it happens, Ford's worst scientific prediction becomes reality. And Bill is not alone in this. Why do I say that? Well, because Bill brought his interdimensional criminal friends to help him take over Gravity Falls.
Now meet the gang of interdimensional criminals and nightmares I call my friends. 8-Ball, Cryptos, the being whose name must never be said. Ah, what the heck? It's Xanthar. Then of course there's also Teeth, Keyhole, Hexagon, Amorphous-shaped Veronica, Pacifier, and these guys. This is our town now, boys!
Whoa, that's a lot of criminals. And on the other hand, we have these two, a genius with 12 PhDs and a curious investigator. As reality crumbles around them, Ford and Dipper attempt to launch a counterattack. Ford, the ever-prepared intellectual, does what every scientist would do in this situation. Retrieves his quantum destabilizer and attempts a direct strike from the town's clock tower. However, a chaos wave triggered by the spreading weirdness disrupts his shot, costing them their best opportunity. And now, finally, for the first time ever, Bill and Ford were face to face.
Good old Six Fingers. I've been waiting an eternity to have a chat face to face.
And then Bill proceeds to mock Ford in front of his monstrous allies, revealing him as the scientist who built the portal.
Everyone, this Armageddon wouldn't be possible without help from our friend here. Give him a six-fingered hand.
Whoa, that's rude, but accurate. Bill even offers Ford to join him. Since he's not very different from his henchmen, all credit to his extra finger. When Ford refuses to join Bill's ranks, Bill cruelly turns him into a golden back scratcher, his brilliant mind silenced, frozen as a symbol of defeat. This moment represents the collapse of Ford's carefully laid plans and marks his temporary failure to control the forces he himself helped unleash. And unfortunately, Ford remains a statue for the rest of the Weirdmageddon Part 1 and the entire Part 2 episodes. However, Bill revives him in the third and last episode of Weirdmageddon, only to chain and torture him for the cipher code that will allow Bill to escape Gravity Falls and invade other dimensions. Well, at least he sang a song to welcome him back.
I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
You have to admit that this guy has pretty good singing skills. Now, what's something you shouldn't ask someone you have captured and tortured? Yep, that's right. It doesn't make sense to ask favors of him.
You'd be one of us, all-powerful, greater than anything you've imagined, and all I need is your help.
Sir, you electrocuted him 2 minutes ago. I think that's not exactly the best recruiting strategy. Despite pain, threats, and temptations of unlimited power, Ford remains unshaken. When Bill offers him a place in his new chaotic empire, Ford mocks him. He reveals that the key to escaping the town lies in a simple formula he's memorized, but refuses to give it up.
There's a simple equation that could collapse the barrier, but I'd never tell you!
Ford's resilience is put to the test as Bill electrocutes him and threatens everyone he loves. Yet, even as Ford is physically weakened, he clings to his mental superiority and moral clarity. This standoff highlights Ford's defining trait, a man of science whose intellectual arrogance often isolates him, but who ultimately chooses principle over power. As the kids and townsfolk stage their rescue, Ford sees firsthand the bravery and unity of the very people he once considered too ordinary to help him. And after a very difficult battle between the gang and the henchmen, Ford is freed when the townsfolk collapse Bill's human throne, returning him to life. He quickly takes charge again, instructing everyone on how to imprison Bill. He reveals the big plan, the Zodiac Ritual, a prophetic symbol circle that honestly looks like magical hopscotch.
The native people of Gravity Falls prophesized that these symbols could create a force strong enough to vanquish Bill.
That sounds promising, but there's one little catch. The ritual needs unity. And guess who still can't stop arguing? Yep, Ford and Stan. Their old habit of bickering over trivialities causes the ritual to fail. Ford's inability to reconcile with Stan almost dooms them all. It's only after the group is scattered and all seems lost that Ford finally sees that brute intellect isn't enough to save the world. Sometimes, sacrifice is required. This realization hits its peak when the brothers reunite in captivity. Bill now knows Ford will never give up the equation, so he decides to invade Stan's mind instead, intending to use Ford's emotional weakness against him. In a moment of rare vulnerability and mutual understanding, Ford and Stan devise a final plan. Ford pretends to be the one whose mind Bill is about to enter, while the real sacrifice is made by Stan.
I surrender!
Good choice.
Don't do it, Ford! It'll destroy the universe!
It's the only way!
That's pretty decent acting from both of them, honestly. If it were up to me, I would give both of them an interdimensional Emmy. What do you guys say? Anyway, Bill dives into Stan's mind and is trapped, only for Ford to then erase his brother's memories using a neural gun, effectively destroying Bill forever. And just like that, the ultimate being was destroyed, literally. However, Ford is still in horror as he watches his brother's personality dissolve and is overwhelmed with guilt. There's the man he resented, dismissed, and fought with for decades, now losing himself to save Ford's world. This isn't just the end of Bill, it's the end of Stanford's arrogance. For once, he realizes that strength doesn't lie in brains alone. It lies in love, loyalty, and a good old-fashioned punch to the cosmic gut. With Weirdmageddon ended and Bill gone, Ford turns away from the obsessions that once consumed him. Instead of continuing his interdimensional research alone, he invites Stan to join him on a new journey, a family voyage, not a solitary quest.
Are you saying you need someone to help you sail around the world in the adventure of a lifetime?
I don't just want someone to come with me, Stanley. I want it to be you.
This moment marks Ford's redemption, from a brilliant but arrogant recluse to a humbled man who understands the value of connection, love, and letting others in. And with that, Gravity Falls wraps up its story. Seuss takes over the Mystery Shack. Honestly, the most deserved promotion since Wendy got promoted to coolest person alive. You can let us know what you guys think of this. One set of twins returns home a little older and a lot wiser. The other sails off on a brand new journey. Two brothers, one boat, and zero idea what they're doing. And that's the story of Stanford Pines, a tale of brilliance, mistakes, redemption, and sibling rivalry that somehow didn't end in a fistfight. Let us know in the comments. What was your favorite Stanford moment? And do you guys think you'd survive a week in Gravity Falls? If you enjoyed this deep dive, give it a like, hit that subscribe button like it's a malfunctioning vending machine, and maybe, just maybe, we'll explore the mystery of what really happened to that time-traveling baby. Until next time, stay weird, folks.